know, I'm not as gorgeous as you, my friend. This is my friend Derek, and this is Dr. Tony.
Tony has a better head of hair than myself.
He's been on the course, he's been playing, he's worked with clients. I'm in the office with people. I can look like this. He looks like this because
Look at this man's shirt today. Good Lord.
I tell you that thing.
Look at that thing.
Hey, but getting back to it because we want to make sure you get some education. We're going to talk today about emotional blockers and enhancers that help you stay healthy and work out and train, and ones that sometimes don't work with you because all of us have that negative Nancy on our shoulder that sometimes tells us not to work out, or think about, okay, maybe I should not do this, or it might be too heavy for me, or I don't know what I'm doing, so I may get hurt. So those are things that block us from getting healthier, that block us from going to the gym. We want to get those out of here. We're going to explain what they are today with Mr. Derek. He's my expert. At that point, we'll go from there to basically talk about how to stay motivated and how to avoid things that block you from actually working out. All right? So, Derek, take it off. I'll be right over here next to you. Anything you need from me, let me know.
All right, Doc.
All right. Got it.
Well,
Let's get closer for you today.
Sure. Is everything okay with the light? Is that a little bright, Anthony?
Actually, that's going to work good for the camera as long as you're okay with it.
Yep, it doesn't bother me.
Okay, cool. Good,
can they see this board okay?
They can.
I can't see it on camera.
It's going to be a little reverse. We'll explain it afterwards. I'll take a picture and show them afterwards to the picture of that, but it'll be reversed right now because of the camera.
Okay, guys. Well, as always, I love being on the show, and I'm really thankful that Doc continues to have me on here. My name is Derek Wohlers, and I'm the owner of Life Performance Enhancement Consulting. I help people achieve goals on different platforms, I would say. One is fitness, the other one is sport performance. I'm an expert in rehabilitation pertaining to the spine as well as the shoulder joint and any movement that involves rotation thereof. So I do work with a lot of baseball, golfers, tennis players and stuff like that, but do a lot of general rehab as well. And then I also help people achieve goals they have for their business as far as consulting like that, younger trainers, up and coming, entrepreneur type people and those kind of things. So, and then I also am a graduate of Veritas Evangelical Seminary, where I have master's degree in theology. So I help people in spiritual growth as well. So one of the things that we're going to talk about today is goal achievement. So last time I was on the show, I spoke about achieving goals, and I kind of had some subtitles there. I'm not going to go into detail. Like last time, I kind of went on a little bit of a rant there. So if you want to hear about that, go back and watch
I'll link it
previous video. But today we're going to talk about some things that either block or enhance your ability to achieve a goal. And the three topics I'm going to use to discuss that are going to be our emotions, our heart, and our mind. Okay, basically the essence of who we are as a human being. Okay, so the first thing I want to discuss today are things that are going to hinder your ability reaching a goal, and that is an emotional blocker. I'm going to title that as, okay? The prime emotional blocker in my 18 years as being a coach when dealing with people, whether it's general fitness people, athlete people, business people, or whatever, or spiritual growth, like I mentioned, is fear. Okay, oftentimes when we set a goal, we do not continue to pursue if we initially made the first step going towards our first idea that was going to lead us in path to our goal is going to be fear. What hinders you is usually it's the possibility of failure. And a lot of the times what we need to go through, and myself included, having failed hundreds of times in my life trying to achieve goals, okay, especially athletically. I never made it professional in baseball. That was my lifelong dream as a kid, okay? Never did it, right? But I sure learned a lot about discipline, organization, my body, leadership, especially communication for myself, en route to attempting to achieve that. And so I'm very thankful for that now, how my path in life was orchestrated. I believe those kind of things are serving me well very much now in my career. And so I'm thankful for that. Now, I never would have learned those things if I would have quit pursuing my goal because of fear. Now, when I was younger, I was a pitcher. Growing up in baseball primarily, and when I was between ages, I'd say about 12 to 14 years old, I would get afraid of throwing a new pitch, let's say like a changeup, okay, in a game, because I didn't want to throw a ball or bounce it in the dirt because I'd look stupid. Okay, that's what, at least what you're thinking about yourself.
When you're a
Okay,
kid, yeah.
yeah, you know, because everybody's watching you and you're in the game and you're trying to win and do a good job. You know what? You don't want to feel like a failure, right? So, I would at times be afraid to do it in the game, and so I wouldn't do it the way the coach taught me. And in the bullpen, where you warm up as a pitcher and practice, I would do it in a different way. So my fear hindered my performance. Now, fear is an emotion that is attached to a thought. So the thought of failing, and what really was is I was performing on the field, in all humility, for the praise of other people, as well as myself, wanting to just flat out do good, because being an athlete, you enjoy competition, Doc, right? And you wanna beat the other guy's butt and have fun doing it at the same time. But at the same time, you also want other people to think you're really good at what you do. Okay, because when you're younger, it makes you cool, right? Right. And when you're an adult, it's no different. You want to be richer, or something, because our culture surrounds walking into a restaurant with fancy clothes and driving up there in a fancy car. You're going to get a lot of praise, and maybe people will wait on you better in the restaurant.
So don't watch me walk in then. Don't watch me
right?
walk in.
Right. And we all have these thoughts, myself included, but I'm just throwing them out there plain as day. Okay, so for myself, my fear hindered my performance. Now, when I began to trust my coach enough and to abandon the fear of failure and recognize that failure is a teaching tool for myself to actually learn to perform the throwing of that pitch better, then immediately I began to play better, because I abandoned my fear of failure and poor performance, and realize that failure and poor performance are going to actually propel me towards my goal of throwing good changeups and striking more guys out, or getting them to ground out or pop out, that kind of thing. Okay, another emotional blocker. Oh, and real quick, let me digress really quick. How that correlates with people, let's talk about the men. Let's say you're a man and you're, 40 years old, or between the ages of 37 and let's say 45, or let's say all the way from 37 to 55, because that's kind of when, really, personally, I believe right about 28 for the male is when the body kind of begins to break down in certain ways, and your body requires a greater amount of preparation. Would you agree with that, Tony? So that's like warm up. Okay,
yeah.
You're at about 28 is when that started happening for myself, right? And the clients I work with, like I mentioned now, I've worked with guys, at the Major League Baseball level, and then just John, the fitness guy walking in off the street, wanting to maintain being healthy, the whole spectrum. Doesn't matter. Okay, I work with Marines. Those men are fun to work with. I've never worked with a female Marine, but I hope to do so someday. Hard charging, extremely intense people, right? They will go, the old expression, Doc, balls to the wall, right? They don't care about possible pain or injury because of their training, but because of that, they need to realize they're out of that portion of their life, and their body is different now, and possibly because of that dedication, I'll call it, some injuries may have come in there. Usually it's scarred tissue, and so the body requires greater preparation.
And I call it they no longer feel invincible.
Oh God, that's a great one, dude. Yeah. I remember when I went through that, I would go to the track and work out with clients, and when you're in your early 20s, you just start going, right? But man, as soon as I was late 20s, early 30s, I'd pull a hamstring if I didn't warm up, no problem. Even being a professional in fitness and stuff like that, it didn't matter. The body is the body. So the reason I bring up the male and that age demographic is this, okay? Because where am I going with that? I lost my thought.
We have a bigger ego than humility. I think as we want to maintain that 20-year-old body, or at least we think we do, but we don't have it anymore.
Hey, pride will get us all, man or woman, right?
Yeah.
All right. So pertaining to, let's say, that demographic with the man, they want to maintain a certain amount of muscle mass, or let's say physical appearance or strength and that kind of thing. Typically, when I deal with those guys, when they come in, they're hurt, but they keep going. The reason they keep going is because of both of these, okay? One is fear. Okay, now being a former athlete and working with a lot of athletes, okay, like that, your identity a lot of the times is wrapped up in your physicality because it dictates kind of where your performance dictates a lot. It dictates your scholarship, your social life, your playing time, and that has an impact on your emotions because your thoughts begin to change. So when you let the guys in that age group, they don't want to lose their muscular size a lot of the time, so they'll continue to work through injury. Now, they keep doing that because they're afraid to lose that because of usually their emotional attachment to their physical appearance, right? And I know that, and I can speak on that very comfortably because I was like that. My identity, to be completely plain, was very much wrapped up in that, more so than it should have been at all. And because of my athletic background, that's one of the things you have to be aware of. I think if you're a parent out there, I have 2 children, okay, and I've coached kids from 5 years old all the way through high school, right? Is that you need to be careful of their self-perception and how sports has an impact on that, as well as the people that you choose to allow influence their mind and their heart, which we'll get to here, in regards to their self and how much they base their self-worth on their performance and their physical appearance. Because our culture very much puts emphasis on that, and in sports as well as in life, it is important for our health and physical performance in the general fitness setting, life health, let's categorize that as, and then this box over here, which would be sports. Okay, it's important, right? Because sports is about performance, because you're in a competition with with other human beings, right? So it's cool, it's fun, it's one of the great things about it. It teaches you fortitude and, getting down and just, being strong and enhancing your drive and your perseverance and all these different character qualities that are great for us in life, okay? That's why sports is awesome. But you have to be careful with your mind and your perspective or perception, or if you want to get into psychological vocabulary, your paradigm, okay, or theological vocabulary, your paradigm on your existence within that activity and how that has an impact on your self-worth. So be very careful about that. Having went through that, I had to go through some emotional healing myself when I was done playing. Having didn't go pro, I felt like I failed in my life. And so that was really, really hard for me to overcome that. Thank God that, he kind of orchestrated my life where I got into this profession and he kept my body, and he gave me my body, actually let me learn to enhance it. But on the other things of side of that, because of that, my mind, it really didn't get healed. So I had to get my mind healed and stop having fear of not being a baseball player anymore, and also the worry of not being cool anymore. I hope it's not received the wrong way, but now I'm a normal person. I'm not a collegiate athlete or a starting player anymore. Yeah. I'm not those people anymore. So who am I, right? So I got really wrapped up into trying to, like a lot of young guys do, women as well. You try to start making a lot of money. How much can I make a lot of money and, really focus on my physicality and go to some crazy level, And so I did pursue those things, and in time it became even more detrimental. So I'm very thankful that I'm not attached to those things anymore, and I try to talk about that with the kids to the degree that I feel comfortable with the parents, or if, that kind of thing. And that's kind of a fine line there between coach and mom and dad. So.
And one thing I'm going to add to real quick is for us adults that have careers, right? Sometimes, for example, back in 08, 09, we had the recession, or I call it the depression. A lot of guys lose their job. And the problem is when you lose your job, your identity is wrapped up in your work. You're an engineer or you're a construction guy, and all of a sudden you can't do that anymore. Then your whole, like he's saying, who are you? What is underneath that work environment? What's your work ethic? Can you transfer it to and you adapt to a different type of work or job, male or female? And my example here in my office, females do a job adapting to, hey, what else can I do? Versus guys are like, okay, I'm just done. I can't do anything. So a lot of it is having that perception, that adaptation, using your skills you've learned as an athlete, the work ethic involved in school, the work ethic involved to get good grades for one, two, can use that and use that confidence you've had from that to go now to do something else that is productive, that can help the people around your community and still have that confidence. Hey, I'm doing something different, even though it's not in that field that sport, that profession. So that's my 2 cents of how to adapt to different things when you can't do something that you did before, because now you have life skills you may not even know of because no one told you that before.
So that's great, man. Thanks for sharing that, Anthony. That resonates with myself for sure.
Yeah, me too.
So appreciate that a lot. So when you go back, to what I'm talking about with the guys, let's say they don't want to take the time to rehabilitate their injury. Let's say you got like an issue with, like your lower back or something very common, or the neck. Obviously Doc being chiro deals with that every day.
That's what I do.
Yep. So, skeleton's out of place, Doc's going to move it back in there with the muscular and tissue and how the body moves it. That's where I help guys. But a lot of the times where they do not want to humble themselves per se or be patient. Okay, it's not always about humility. Sometimes it is, but patience a lot of times in fixing it is because they're afraid to lose their muscle mass, right? And they're worried about what that's going to bring to their love life. I don't know, to their social life with their buddies. All that kind of stuff. Self-image. And the attachment thereof to that kind of thing. So just an example. If you need to get going and if you're willing to be patient and fix it, okay, and take some time to let that heal and go through a rehabilitation process, you're going to learn more about your body, your physical self, which you obviously enjoy anyway. And once it's repaired, when you go back through the strength building process, you will do it in a more efficient, effective way, and therefore you actually will become stronger the second time around. If you are willing to go through the process. Now, if you continue just to bowl in the china shop and push through it, that kind of mentality, there is a time and a place for that. I'm a firm believer of that, especially in athletics and in life, 100%. And being in the personal training field, it's I think it's a good tool when people, to put it in athlete vernacular, when you want to puss out, okay, you encourage them to not do that. Okay, now there's other ways you can
give up.
You could say, wuss out, but really it's not true. There's no pussing out. There's no wimp out, give up. What it is just a choice that they're making to not progress. Okay, and the progression, it comes first in your thoughts. Okay, after your thoughts, then you're going to move to your heart. Okay, so let's talk about heart enhancers. The mind, boom, in our heart. Our heart, the mind and the heart, they coexist together, right? You will have emotions inside of your heart based on your thoughts. You can have arousing, let's use joy in your heart that will produce a thought. And then it will emotion, and those two will kind of coexist together right there. In time I'll be able to explain that better, okay? So one of the things that will enhance your heart and in your goal progression, okay, and the coexistence between your mind and it is humility. The more willing that you're going to choose to be to admit what you do, where you need enhancement, then a recognition will come to where improvement can then take place. Okay, I recommend that you rewind that and listen to that again. And another one is going to be gratefulness. Okay. Gratefulness is another. You could say thankfulness, but I think there's two different things there. Okay, gratefulness is the acceptance of the recognition that what you're receiving didn't solely come from your own efforts. This is where collaboration with other people and being humble enough to recognize that you need help. Here's another. I'll throw myself out there in another mistake I made. Okay, when I was younger. Being a self-employed, I think I was 24 when I first tried it, and then I went back to work at a clinic, and then I became self-employed again at 26, okay? I didn't want anybody to help me do anything. I had clients that were very successful, millionaires in business, okay? And they would yo, D, let me help you out and stuff like that, and I didn't want it. The reason I didn't want that is because I wanted control of everything. Okay. I wanted to be in absolute control because I didn't want anybody telling me what to do, because your whole life as an athlete and when you're a younger man, your coach or your mommy or daddy tells you what to do, and I was done with that. Okay, I did not want that anymore. I wanted to be my own entrepreneurial business owner, and I call the shots.
I'll figure it out.
Friggin' stupid decision. Okay, don't do that. What you need to do is be humble enough.
Don't do this.
To ask questions and ask for help. Okay, I wish, man. I mean, I did this interview. I did an interview quite a few years ago with a guy. He's a really well-known strength coach, and he interviewed, and we did an interview via whatever, like Zoom or something, from my kitchen, okay? And this was like, I don't know, maybe six years ago or something like that. And great guy, great coach. And he asked me, what would you do? One thing you could do different, what would you do? And I say I would ask more questions. Right, ask for help, man.
Yeah.
And be willing to sit down with a guy or a woman that has achieved what I want to achieve, albeit they weren't athletic person. And sometimes as an athlete, you get very prideful because you could do things physically with your body and use your mind to achieve that other people can't, because their individual makeup is different than yours. You think you're a lot better than them, and that's a very stupid decision, and that's very prideful. And I did that, and I wish I never did that. But because of that decision, I greater appreciate being humility now. Okay, especially as a coach, because when you're coaching other kids, a lot of times the young kids or the professional guys, even like some of these little 6-year-old kids or moms and dads, they want me to help them out with their pitching and stuff like that, and I love it, man. I love it. And so, but those little guys, I learned something from those little kids all the time. Every week I learned something new about our nervous system, usually, because they're all created a little different, and usually it's in the foot where you have to do a lot of correction, like little foot exercises and that kind of stuff, because their body can't move well because the surface that it's using to move from, the initiation, it's not stable or strong enough, so it affects the nerve pathways, and it screws with their ability to hit or throw or something.
Yeah, we talked about last one,
so you got to work on the feet and stuff like that, and then that affects the knee and the hip and all that jazz, right, going up the bottom. So, it is a whole thing there, but I think it's neglected often. So I love it. And those little guys, they're great. And I ask them questions about themselves, what they feel, because I don't know what they feel, So, hey, thank God for that. And I am grateful for this, because it's because of choosing more of this, which I fail at all the time, every day. But because of that, this enhances. When this enhances, that means that I receive something, new information, because of my, here's a good one. I was at the golf range the other day. Love golf. I work with a lot of golfers to help their body. A lot of times they always want to turn more, right? So I'm at the range and I'm whacking the ball, and I really wasn't hitting it very, very well for myself that day. I was having kind of a hard time getting to the impact zone normally and repeating that, and so my shots were kind of going in different directions every time, relatively. And so I had to ask a guy over there. I said, hey, you know what? I'm having trouble, and he had real consistent swing shot shapes and stuff like that. And I said, you know what, I'm having some trouble with this, which for myself, I mean, good Lord, I'm a professional in sport performance. I should know how to do that, right? You know what, I didn't know what to do. So I was like, yo, dude, will you come over here and watch me? He was like 19, a 19-year-old kid, I'm 40, and I was like, yo, will you please help me? Look at me, and because as I can see you. And sure enough, after one swing, he gave me one cue, and boom, right in a row, right? And I was like, yo, dude, come into my studio. I had my studio at the time, and I'll hook you up, and whatever you want to know about golf, strength training, mobility, whatever, dude. I was like, come in, man, for 2 weeks for free. Come in, what? And sure enough, that turned into referrals, and boom, then came a referral stream of clients. So thank God that I was willing to do that, right? Because of my previous failures. Mm-hmm. So I was very grateful for that, and something positive came of it. There's also been times where I've done that, and I got my butt ripped by an older guy. Okay, let's say like a late 60s, early 70s kind of guy who's played golf for 50 years. He let me have it out there. Okay, one time, because I didn't know, because he was appalled at what I was believing to be true about that. Now, he and I had different opinions on the movement thing, because his generation is different from mine, being far influenced by science to a greater degree. Yeah. But I was very thankful with how he chose to correct me. So there's just another example, okay? Now, we've talked about our emotions, our heart. Let's go back into the mind and talk about two things, blockers. A blocker for yourself right off the bat is if your patience, okay, is not there.
Lack of.
Thank you, Doctor. I was kind of stuck, lacking words there, right? We need more of it. Okay, because your recognition of within a moment, if you're able to recognize that this is an opportunity for me to increase in my patience And typically there's a pride thing associated with that as well. A willingness to listen or to wait or just do nothing sometimes. Like with your muscles, you can't lift weights. I'm like, yo, dude, you cannot come in here and do these exercises right now. You need to wait and let me.
But what else can I do, Derek? But what else can I do?
Right now, you can't do anything. Right?
There,
Can you imagine being Doc? Okay, and people want to like go skiing. Okay, because when skiing comes in, that's when I get a lot of low backs.
Yep.
Because this and this, and then the friggin' they fall over.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're like, oh, my low back, right? I need to go see a chiro. Okay, first thing.
Gosh.
But first thing you do is let your inflammation swell down. Then you can see if the skeleton it needs realignment. So before that, you need soft tissue examination, right? So they want to go back and ski right away.
But my path's going to be up in 3 days.
Because they're afraid that they're not going to be able to go down the mountain as fast as their buddy. You know what? That's all fun. You know, we're all like that. Right?
Competitive.
It's fun. It's fun. But you can't let it have a decision like that where you choose not to heal yourself. So patience is one thing. In business,
Huge.
I went through a season where I was pouring every ounce of extra time I had and within my budget money into marketing because I wanted more and more and more. It was real obvious that I was kicking against the goad during that season because it was more of a season for me where I should have been learning, not acquiring people, but knowledge. So I got to a point where I was like, this is obviously not the time for that. And when I knew that was, I went on longer because the old athlete mentality, you just keep going, right? Stupid.
How old were you?
During that time, I was 29.
Yeah, so another 2 more life.
Sorry, no, 30. I was in my early 30s. That's when that's when I really started trying to push it.
2 more lifetimes to live, though. We have a long time to go.
Yeah. So there's just a couple examples, and when people come in and like here's one: weight loss, right? Women come in after pregnancy when they come in, they're like, yo, my baby's done. I'm good. I need to lose it. They want to run. Let's go. They want me to run them 5 miles. And I'm like, do you realize that do you know how bad that would hurt your ankles?
Ran in 9 months.
Oh, and your back and neck. Do you realize how bad that would be? And when they do that kind of stuff on their own, this is what I hear usually. For the last 2 months, I've been really trying to lose this weight, and it's like I lose a few pounds and then I gain it, and I'm just so hurting everywhere. Well, their musculoskeletal system is totally out of whack and not functioning. Number one, properly.
System too.
Yeah.
Also.
Oh, that's correct. Yeah. So their body isn't moving right. So when they're doing exercises and stuff like that, and they're doing way too much of them, the movements are all messed up, and so of course the tendons and muscles, they're going to get irritated and they're going to inflame and hurt. And when they do that is when you need to stop. But they keep going and it pisses them off even more. So
feed the fire, my friend.
So that's when you gotta have patience and go through a preparational process. That's why when clients first come in, most of the time I'm like, yo, you should do the Foundation 1 program. It's a 90-day program. Let me analyze you and figure out what all your joints need as far as stability, mobility, flexibility. Strength is cool, cardiovascular is cool, but movement quality. So we can get all those. Then in the process, I get nutrition going and weight loss occurs, okay? But it's a preparational phase that will let them boost it higher later. So you have to have the patience in order to get there, and they also need to learn more flat out. And go ahead, Doc.
And my rebuttal is, if you're in such a rush, when is the show? When is your competition?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't have one. Well, then what the heck's the rush?
It's the pool at your friend's party in the summer.
You want to get that bikini in the 20s. No, it's going to happen.
Just chill, man. It's probably going to take you a couple of years.
Wait till next year.
It's all good, Just get yourself healthy, okay?
Yes.
That's an example. Speaking of, I've dealt with a lot of pregnant ladies, okay? So it's all good. Another one is, that's kind of a combo there, I think, between blocker and hand. So knowledge, and then whenever you want, Doc, just, make sure you chime in.
Yeah.
Knowledge, right, in your mind. In order to go forward in your goals, you have to acquire usually upon what you know. Now, what people usually do is they go down paths that they're good at, okay? If the guys, let's say like you're an athlete and you're fast, okay? You like doing things that make you faster, but a lot that you believe make you faster or have had make you faster in the past, right? But usually what you need to do is find out your hindrances that are not allowing you to move faster, and you need to correct those and go through a process of learning what it is you need to do, which is definitely going to involve this, to then go higher with those. Doc, what's an example you
Yeah.
could give for that, like in business?
Well, a lot of it is, I think, is when you've gone to school. Okay, now you've gone to school. You actually enjoyed, and hopefully didn't. For me, I never enjoyed school. It was more like I got to get through school to get to my life. But a lot of it is then can you go from knowledge of your knowledge you've absorbed from a book to someone else's knowledge, a mentor, finding someone that has done it already for what you've done. At that point, a coach like Derek, hey, he's been an athlete. He understands how to train athletes, understands how to train moms that are now no longer pregnant but now want to get healthy. Weekend warriors for one too. He's done this. Find someone with experience, pick their brain. I like to take the shortcut. I'd rather talk to Derek. Hey, Derek, I have a problem with my shoulder. What do I do for it? Versus go online and check out all these different things that are out there. Then you're like, okay, now I'm overwhelmed with stuff. Do I go left, right? What do I do? Do I go heavyweights, lightweights, or it is? I'd rather have Derek walk me through an assessment. Okay, let's break this down and where am I? I want to do things in a short manner. Having someone like Derek along my path allows me to make my journey to a better health state better and easier, faster. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to guess. There's no guessing involved. When you have the basic knowledge, for example, in your field or expertise, then how do you expand that with mentors, with coaches for one too, that help you get the next step? That's my 2 cents of getting there, and then from there going to a point. Okay, now how do I use that knowledge? And we'll talk about wisdom next. So we'll go through it.
Okay, thanks. That's awesome. So wisdom is the application of knowledge in life circumstances based on, I should say based on, or well, that's fine. Based on your experience in your life thus far. That's a pretty good little definition there off the top of my head. So what does that mean? It means that generally speaking, okay, I believe that people can acquire wisdom at different seasons, therefore different ages in your life. I believe 100% that a 12-year-old can teach a 40-year-old something, because it happens to me every week. Okay, so but generally with wisdom, you accumulate that through time. So you have to be patient enough, continue to learn, so that your wisdom increases. The more you are willing to be influenced through your circumstances, let's say, that's kind of how patience can be infused into your life, and that applies to sports or business or whatever, right? And then the more knowledge that you choose to accumulate through your own research. A lot of people who maybe they like to be in, they feel safer, okay, or not as vulnerable when they're in control of what they believe they're in control of their circumstances. They will not ask others to educate them. They'll go on the internet for hours, wake up early, buy all the books, okay? And I believe you need to do both. But I also believe that, and as a younger coach, so I first coached at my alma mater in 2007. And when you go to that level and you go back and you coach, and I coached for the guy that was my coach when I was a player.
Wow.
You need to be, you think you know way more than you do. And when you go back to coach at that level, the first thing you realize is how little you really know about being a coach. And how really you were out there being controlled by your coach in your mind. Okay, coach controls your mind, so you do what he knows is best for you as the experienced leader. Wisdom, okay, that's what that's what coaches do. You don't learn how to coach as a player. You learn how to coach when you coach, and you learn how to coach from experienced coaches, the old wise dogs per se, the guys that have been coaching like 40 friggin' years. Those guys know these things. That's why I'm so thankful that I've been blessed, man, with around some great coaches, man, you know, since I was a young kid, you know, guys that some of them, you know, a lot of people would consider them to be maniacs. Other ones would consider them to be the intellectual type coach. Yeah. I had a couple hybrids. I've had coaches from all parts of the country, so you get the cultural influence there within America. I had a soccer coach as a young kid. He was from Iceland. Okay, totally different culture. So I was, you know, it's my life has been orchestrated in that way. And so I'm thankful for that, right? So I can speak on these things in ways that another 40-year-old coach might, and another 30-year-old coach may do a better job than myself. You don't know, okay? But where I'm at now is that what I'm getting at is when you go back and you coach again, what you learn is you have to learn how to put information in other people's brains. So what do you have to learn? You have to learn their brain. Every person is different.
Wow.
So you have to learn all the different learning styles. Thank God my bachelor's was in physical education. So they taught us at Azusa Pacific University the different learning styles. There's different opinions on that. Like there's 3, there's 4, there's 7, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You need to learn them so you can communicate to the individual mind. And then you have to learn more about the position so you can begin to communicate skill specifics at the position if you're infielder, pitcher, hitter. I mean, all those kind of things. So it's like, when you work with general fitness people, usually you're not teaching them how to friggin' hit the curveball or field the grounder, right? Or get underneath the fly ball. You're not teaching them that kind of stuff. What you're teaching them is everything that has damaged them, and you're trying to reverse it in their life through culture, mom and dad, grandpa, other coaches. I got beat up by some coaches. You had to go through the process of learning why that's not good, so you don't treat other players like that. Nobody's perfect. I'm sure I've heard players myself. When I was a younger coach, when you're more of just kind of more of a maniac, less in tune with these things.
Yeah.
Okay, as you get older, that's why usually older coaches, not all the time, but they're you refer to them as being calmer. But boy, when they got it, they know exactly how to step it up emotionally and drop the hammer, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you're working with fitness people, you don't drop the hammer on them like you do athletes on the field. Individual coaching is far different than team dynamic. Yeah. Okay, when you're on the field, that you are more of a general. In the individual environment, you're more of an educator. Okay, it's different. Okay, because you're teaching an individual person skills. It doesn't mean you don't coach their mind. You still do that. And their heart, okay, as well, and then you teach them to apply that to their game circumstances. Now, with the fitness people or business, when I help people with grow businesses and stuff, you're teaching them how to apply these things to decision making with money. And that is a totally different thing. Now, we all know that as moms and dads or, business owners, or just let's say, you got a family, you go to work, you got to have your own house budget in there. It's all the same. I want this new car or all these kind of things, or I want to lose this weight so bad right now. And I will straight up ask them, why? And how I do that is I find, like we talked about the other day, Doc could describe it as your why. It's your primary source of motivation. Mm-hmm. And I ask the young kids that too, because when they get tired, when I have to condition them so they can perform at the level they need to based on their opponent and hopefully higher, when they get tired, they have to have a source that they pull from. That is their primary source of motivation that's going to keep them going. And for a lot of them, it's I want to be a professional baseball player. Why? Because so cool. Right? Yeah. So cool, man. And then I'll
go in the freezer, you'll be cold.
So I'll probe them further. I ain't gonna do that right now. That's when you get into the heart and the mind of the individual. And as coach, people open up to you. It's part of being coach. Yeah. Trainer, it's no different. Sure, Doc, you deal with it too, dealing with the body.
The emotional side,
it is. It's in there. And after the emotion, the thought, then you get into the heart. Or sometimes it's vice versa. And so that's when you really find out they're trying to do what they want to do because they're afraid of this not happening. Mm-hmm. I'm afraid of not feeling my life as a success. I'm not as pretty as my sister. I'm not as skinny as my brother. Yeah. I don't have as nice car as my neighbor, right? I don't throw as fast as Tommy does, okay? Yeah. So Tommy's girlfriend's prettier. Whatever. Okay? That's not always the case in his mind, maybe, but we're all different with that. These are just things that you do.
But that's our truth. That's what they believe. So how do you change their perception over time? That's the biggest thing.
So then you get, this is when the wisdom comes in. Wisdom is this, we're kind of bringing everything down into, we got it all together now in wisdom. The application of everything we've talked about, right? You have to analyze really where you are in your being, in your mind, and why you think the way you do, why you love the way you do in your heart or don't, okay? Why you look the way you look in your body, and where you're at spiritually. And like I say, every time that's a personal decision on whether you believe that's a component of a human being or not. Yeah. Okay? So, but I will say this, of the people that my experience working with who choose not to enhance the spiritual component of what I believe is part of the makeup of a human being, they generally have more anguish in their life. Okay, I'll leave it at that.
This is experience.
That's my experience.
You know,
18 years coach.
Yeah.
Okay, that kind of thing. Okay, so that's my opinion on that. And that's it. Right now, what are we going to do? How do we take all this and what are we going to do? All right. So to take everything you've learned, you need to analyze. And I'm sorry to repeat myself. You need to analyze your heart, and your mind. Let's use those two: your heart and your mind. Okay. And you want to go through and you need to ask yourself, what are my primary motivations in my life? Okay, for enhancing the peace of my mind and the love of my heart. Now, you can go into far greater detail with those two things, but I'm going to leave it at that. Peace of mind, okay, and the love in your heart. Now, peace of mind would be, well, if my finances were just this much better, then my son could be on this team and he would get this scholarship. Well, you know what? It's not. Okay, that's not the way it is, you know. But they're like, but you know what? We're going to start with you, coach, and we feel like right now we need to improve. He needs to get faster and stronger, and he needs to throw the ball faster. And that's usually, I mean, that's true. I agree with you. That would help his possibility of progress in baseball. Okay, but then I'll ask them, you know, how's he doing with his scholastics? Oh, he's doing good, right? Okay. How's he doing with his social relationships? Well, you know, he likes to relax. He's alone. He likes to be by himself.
Introvert.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah. Right, like that. Then you know, that's it. And then you talk to the player. Okay, why, you know, you don't let him know that mom and dad talk to you about that sometimes. Other times you do, you know. And again, this is coaching stuff. If you don't know this side of coaching, then you know it's my opinion. It's good coaching, and it requires trust. And there's a line there as a coach, you know, that you do and you don't do. You're not their dad or mom, right? You're their coach, so you try to help them. Okay, and it's no different with fitness clients, or it's all inside there, man. And if you're trying to make a bunch of money, you really need to ask yourself, what is the heart and reason for that? Okay, and how and why is it that you have this desire to make a lot of money? Okay, I mean those are my opinions on that. So I hope this helps you guys. Again, analyze where you're at in the peace of your mind. Okay, and the love in your heart. Not having peace of mind, but where are you at in your mental peace? And remember, your thoughts are connected to your emotions. Your emotions. Okay, and your heart is connected to your mind. So if your heart, okay, truly is not the center or primary focus of your development, then everything else that branches out from side of that, your body and your mind, okay, will not bring you what I believe it otherwise could have in your existence. And that's that. So I hope if you have goals, regardless of what they are, man, this stuff is fantastic.
Athlete, business, personal life,
apply it. You know, I wish I knew this stuff to the degree I know it today a year ago. But thank God that I keep going, because my life keeps altering and you continue to learn. But the awareness of these things, it allows for that. If your sole focus is one thing, like let's say the dollar, okay, or let's say your biceps, or let's say your fastball, or your girlfriend, or whatever,
social status,
okay, whatever. You know, those kind of things. You know, we're talking more about life here than just the body. But if it is those things, then you're missing out on the complete entity of yourself. Then you know your life it's going to lack, and so you'll try to fill it with other things, like being really you know, like let's say like having a very, very low percentage according to our culture of body fat. As far as your accumulation, so focused on that, but we don't exercise our heart over here. So out externally, and maybe in our physicality, you know, we move ourselves well and we like our appearance, but inside, is inside of the heart and of the mind in those areas. It's not getting attended to as much, so the developmental rate in comparison to your physical self is it's not at the same rate, and so because of that, there's not balance in your development. When I learned about the body, really understanding how the balance of ourself in strength and in movement quality is far more important than muscular strength in itself. If your body,
you had to learn that though.
That's correct. If your body is in greater harmony and balance with itself internally and externally, and by that we're just going to say, for the sake of this presentation, your movements. Okay, when you move, when your joints are good at stabilizing, they're flexible, they're strong, then the quality of movement that occurs from them will be higher. When your quality of movement occurs is more efficient based on your individual current state in your development, as well as your genetic giftedness, let's say, then your experience of your physical self will be to greater enjoyment, I would say, that kind of thing. And it's no different inside of your mind or your heart. That's why there's psychologists. Yeah. Sports psychologists, those guys, they do amazing things. Family therapists, all those people are so valuable because they have expertise in that area. So if you're not an expert, in each one of these areas, which I'd say there's very few people that really are like that, then I think that you should be humble enough to seek that out and have the gratefulness to further develop it in your life. And again, we're back right here at the heart with these two things. So good. Hope that works for you guys. I really enjoyed that today. Thanks for having me.
No. And one thing is, it's almost. Let me grab this real quick.
Yeah.
This is my 2 cents in this thing too. Is Derek does a great job from my perspective, sitting there for our last half hour or so. Is to where being a coach, I'm going to put a coach over here. If I could spell, be awesome too. Coach, okay, allows you over wisdom, going from wisdom, I'm going to put time in there. Time allows you to see actually exactly over time the experience to actually, then from experience, and then teach to allow you to actually implement and now act upon all of this. Then you become a true, I want to call it a true mentor for athletes as a coach or a consultant, business consultant too, because then you've taken all your information here and used it on people to relearn. Okay, with this person I have to talk this way, this person I have to talk this way. Now over time, then you've actually had time to become a competent coach, because there's coaches out there everywhere, that allows you to now use your experience and your emotional balance, per se, to make a good athlete, a good person. When I hear coaches, for example, in basketball, I was into for a long time, a while back, and coaches that are going to retire, or coach been in for a long time, Krzyzewski just retired from Duke, a lot of it is the players come back and go, yeah, he made me a good player, but made me a better man. He made me a better person beyond college. When they come back and talk, they made me someone that understood I didn't have humility. He taught me when he brought the hammer down and said, look, you got to be humble to understand I'm here to help you. And with your players, you're not a good teammate. So them understand exactly what they were lacking, got them these different things, at that point brought him as a coach, as Derek does with his clients, to learn exactly how to come back and make this a full circle for themselves too, after they became a good athlete, and then from then a good person, and then from a good family member, and so on and so on. So that's my 2 cents. I think Derek does a good job here because he understands these things and helps his clients not only with the physicality, as we talked in previous talks about, but also the mindset and how to understand the mind and heart combination, breaking it down for you today and for his clients over a period of a lot of time, if they're 10, 12, 6, or 60, so understand where they're lacking, get that lack, so their health, their mindset, and their physicality gets a higher state versus where they are presently. So that's my 2 cents there.
Yeah, thanks, Doug. I think the next thing I'd like to talk about well, I'd like it to be determined upon your
Yeah.
guys' feedback.
Good.
You know, so let me know what you'd like me to talk about based on these two categories. I'll go all in on fitness and nutrition, fat loss, anything pertaining to fitness, sport, performance, and rehab, or I'll talk briefly about all three. That's one option.
Good.
The other one would be I'll tell you how to accelerate the speed of achieving your goals.
Good.
So
Good,
either
good.
one of those two things, because we all want things to be as fast as possible, because nobody likes to wait. And sorry, Tony.
Patience.
And at
No
times,
patience. No patience.
there are seasons, though, I believe, where it is fast, right?
Yes.
And during those seasons, there's things that you learn that aided in that. And I believe I have a solution that I think would help everybody out there. So we talk about how to accelerate the rate of your goal achievement.
And one thing is too, my watchers today, Ron and Jay Jeffries, it's a lot, especially with Ron. He used to coach me when I was in basketball and baseball when I was a kid.
Oh.
Still coaches his kids with it, and he was a phenomenal coach. And he had a lot of this stuff already in his head. I don't know, he's probably born with it, I'm not sure, a permanent thing or something. So, thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it.
Cool, thank you.
Good.
Thanks, Tony.
All right,
Appreciate it.
sir.
Always a pleasure
You're
to be
welcome.
here.
Got it, guys.